And now, once again, Richard Thomas.
Our next story was sent to us by Beth Corbett of Old Hickory, Tennessee. Beth saw our recent campaign, America's Search for Miracles, and sent us a letter about some friends of hers who'd experienced one. It's a fascinating tale about how some people are destined to meet and change the course of each other's lives. The situation is simple. A young woman driving home late at night, a wrong turn that takes her down a road she hadn't planned on traveling, a road that leads her straight into a miracle. On a quiet Sunday evening in 1997, Jill Ryder was helping her brother move into a new apartment in Portland, Tennessee.
Pizza is here.
Oh, awesome. We had been cleaning and unpacking, and we had ordered pizza for supper and just hanging out, you know, talking, and it kept getting later and later. The next thing I know, it was like 11 o'clock at night.
Well, I really gotta get out of here.
Stay here, I'll take the couch.
So for like 30 minutes, I toyed back and forth. My brother's like, it's Sunday night, you have a 45-minute drive. What happens if you break down? You probably will not see another car all the way home.
No, I can stop at Mom's between.
But Jill couldn't shake an overwhelming urge to drive to her mother's home, 35 miles away.
Okay, if you're sure, but I wish you wouldn't go.
No, I need to go.
For some reason, I just had this tugging at my heart, and I was like, I really feel like I need to go.
Out on the road, a second, seemingly insignificant event occurred. She missed a turn.
That week, I had driven that road maybe 4 or 5 times. And for some reason, I drove right past it, and I went, I was supposed to turn right there.
The simplest solution would have been to turn back. But again, without knowing why, Jill decided to keep driving.
My heart just kept saying, don't turn around. And I was like, but I want to turn around. It's midnight. I want to go home. I want to go to bed. For some reason, my heart kept telling me to keep going. So I just did. It was pitch black. There was no lights, no street lights, no porch lights. And as I passed this side street, out of the corner of my eye, I see a light. And I immediately turned my head and saw flames out of the corner of this house. And my heart just stopped. I thought, oh my gosh, that house is on fire. I turned around and made it back to the side road where the house was. My first thought was, there's a 2-story house. There's probably kids in there. I parked my van and started beating on the door.
Hey, wake up! Wake up! Your house is on fire!
Jill's instinct was correct. Inside the burning house was a family of 4. 2 young children, Kelsey and Kyle, and their parents, Johnny and Candy Owens.
I think I had just fallen asleep, and I heard someone banging on the front door. Everybody else was still asleep. Nobody heard the banging but me. I was half asleep, but I knew that it was late and no family would be banging on the door. So I thought, well, if I don't answer the door, they'll leave and go away. And at that point, she did leave and go away.
Unable to rouse anyone in the house, Jill turned her attention to a neighbor's home.
They had like a French door, and it was glass.
Hello? Is anyone home? There's a fire next door. We need some help.
And I started beating on their door, hoping that somebody at one of these houses would hear me.
But when no one responded to her cries for help, Jill decided to try another tactic.
And I started running back to my van and just blared on my horn. I was like, surely somebody in the neighborhood would hear me. And I never saw anybody else. So I jumped out of the car and I went back up on the front porch and started kicking the door. My goal was to kick the door down.
She came back and started banging on the door louder and louder and louder until I couldn't ignore it. So I got up and walked down the hallway. At that point, I also started hearing noises coming from the attic, and then I could smell the smoke. And that's when I realized that the house was on fire.
Johnny! Johnny, I think the house is on fire.
What? She shook me and said, "I think the house is on fire." I immediately jumped out of bed and headed down the hallway, and when I hit the den, you could hear the fire roaring.
There's a fire. Go get the kids. Go. Come on.
I got Kelsey and she got Kyle. And we headed out the back door. I dropped the kids off. I said, "I'm going back in to get the dogs." And I come back in the house and I heard banging on the front door. So I went to the front door and opened it.
It's okay. Go.
And I said, "Everybody's out of the house. They're around back."
I realized they were out of the house and that everything was going to be okay. I was just crying hysterically.
Moments later, the sound of sirens confirmed that Jill had managed to wake a neighbor who'd called the nearby Shackle Island Volunteer Fire Department. Chief Martin Bowers arrived within 10 minutes.
I was almost the first one on the scene because I only live about 2 miles from here. When I pulled in, I saw heavy smoke and flames coming out the back end of the garage area. The homeowner was out with a water hose squirting towards it.
Get away from the house, sir.
The fireman was yelling, "Get away from the house." And I said, "You get some water up here and I'll get away from the house."
Everybody's okay. Do you have any pets in there?
We got it out.
It was already charring the rafters and stuff over where they were sleeping, so it would have been maybe 6 or 7 more minutes and there would have been a real problem if we hadn't got it contained. It really makes you wonder if there isn't somebody out there watching out for you.
It would have been the end of the Owens family. All 4 of us would have died in the fire from smoke inhalation. And then the roof would have caved in on top of us. There's no doubt.
Jill, hi. How are you?
The next morning, first thing, I got up and I went to where they had spent the night to see how everybody was doing.
The kids are going to be so excited you're here.
Oh, I can't wait to see
All right, sit down. I'll go get them.
Candy went and told the kids, Kyle and Kelsey, that I was there.
Hey.
Kyle said, "Did she come back to save us again?" And I thought that was the sweetest thing.
The Owenses and Jill have become good friends and love to spend time together. They believe it had to be more than a coincidence that brought them together.
She just, for some reason, felt like she needed to go to her mom's, and then just happened to miss the turn and ended up by our house. And it was God sending her by our house. We have named her our guardian angel because she, we feel, was sent. And it was just a miracle.
Well, I don't know about you, but the next time I miss a turn on the road, I'll think twice about whether to keep on going or turn around. I wouldn't want to miss my chance to be part of a miracle.